They say silence is powerful, but inside the Brown family, silence has become the most dangerous move of all. For years, we watched the cracks form, the passive-aggressive posts, the carefully timed interviews, the slow collapse of a man who once called himself the patriarch. But what happened this Christmas? No one, and I mean no one, saw this coming. Picture it. Holiday lights glowing, snow on the ground, families reconnecting. Now imagine a father who hasn't truly shown up for his daughter in months, suddenly sending her a Christmas gift, only for that same box to reappear on his own doorstep days later, unopened, untouched, returned, and attached to it, a message that allegedly detonated everything. Today, we're breaking down what fans are calling the Christmas boycott, the moment truly Brown, the quiet observer of years of dysfunction, finally spoke louder than anyone else ever has. Did she really send Kody's gift back to Flagstaff? Did one short note reportedly reduce Robin's holiday to tears? And why is a single photo from Salt Lake City sending shockwaves through that Flagstaff mansion? Grab your tea, because the tender-aged child grew up, and she didn't ask for permission. And before we go any further, if you are proud of Truly for choosing self-respect over silence, hit that like button now. It tells the algorithm and everyone watching that we see what's really happening. And if you want to be first when the next Flagstaff bomb drops, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. This community doesn't fall for gaslighting, and today proves exactly why. Now, to understand why this returned package matters, we need context. This wasn't a random teenage reaction. This didn't happen overnight. This was years in the making. Go back to the COVID Christmas era. The rules, the typed lists, the protocols that looked less like safety and more like control. Kody Brown has always treated love like currency, obedience in exchange for presence, loyalty in exchange for attention. The moment you questioned him, the deal was off. Truly watched all of it. She watched the rules bend for Robin's kids and harden for everyone else. She watched her father live at one house while claiming he was stretched too thin for the others. She watched Isabel suffer while money flowed freely elsewhere. There is a specific kind of damage that comes from being seen, but never chosen. Fast forward to now. Kody Brown sits in his Flagstaff mansion, surrounded by expensive art, curated victimhood, and a wife who reinforces his worst instincts. And suddenly, he feels it. Control slipping. Texts aren't working. Guilt isn't working. Demands aren't working. So he does what he always does when panic sets in. He tries to buy his way back in. Insiders claim a peace offering was sent to Truly, but let's be honest, Kody's version of peace is rarely personal. It's flashy, impersonal, transactional. The theory? He believed the package itself would summon loyalty, that the return address alone would trigger gratitude, that a gift could erase absence. What he forgot is this: Truly doesn't live in Flagstaff anymore, and she doesn't live under his spell. In Salt Lake City, Truly has been watching something dangerous to Kody's ego: normalcy. She sees Christine in a healthy partnership. She sees David Woolley show up consistently, quietly, without conditions. No contracts, no loyalty tests, no manipulation disguised as love. And once you see love without pain, you stop accepting pain as love. So when that box arrived, there was no excitement, no rush, no curiosity, just clarity. Reports say it sat there, unopened, heavy, not with gifts, but with history, with guilt, with manipulation trying to crawl back into a peaceful home. And this is where everything changes. Instead of accepting crumbs like generations before her, Truly made a choice. Returning a package isn't passive. It takes effort, tape, time, a trip to the shipping center. It is an action, a boundary. That box wasn't thrown away. It was sent back where it came from. Sources claim Kody waited, tracked the shipment, expected gratitude, expected validation. What he got instead was silence, and silence to a narcissist is unbearable. He can dismiss adult sons, he can villainize ex-wives, but Truly, she was supposed to be moldable. Instead, she saw everything. The alleged note attached to the returned box? 4 words: love can't be bought. If true, that line didn't just sting, it dismantled him, because Kody Brown's entire identity is built on the belief that money equals authority, gifts equal access, provision equals ownership. Those 4 words exposed the truth. His currency no longer works, and the box allegedly never opened, meaning it didn't matter what was inside: jewelry, tech, money, memories. The source was the problem. While that package traveled back to Arizona, something else happened. A photo surfaced. Truly Christine, David. Relaxed, real, safe. No forced smiles, no staged patriarchy, just peace. That image alone reportedly sent Flagstaff into a spiral, because David Woolley doesn't perform fatherhood, he practices it, and every smile Truly shares with him is a quiet rejection of everything Kody failed to be. Back in Flagstaff, insiders describe chaos, Robin reportedly framing the return as an attack, Kody spiraling over money wasted instead of connection lost, proving the note right. Meanwhile, in Utah, the box was gone, the weight was gone, and Truly was free. This wasn't about a Christmas gift. This was about ending a cycle. Truly Brown didn't just return a package. She returned the guilt. She returned the obligation. She returned the lie. And in doing so, she closed a door that may never reopen. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think was inside that box? Was returning it the right move or the most powerful one possible? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're proud of Truly for choosing peace over performance, hit like. It matters more than you think. Subscribe, turn the bell on, because if Flagstaff responds, we'll be ready.
They say silence means peace, but inside the Brown family, silence has become an act of rebellion. And this Christmas, that silence hit harder than any argument ever could. Viewers have watched this family unravel for years. Side-eye comments, carefully dodged questions, a man clinging to authority while everything beneath him crumbled. But what allegedly happened during the holidays changed the entire power dynamic permanently. Imagine the timing. Christmas lights glowing, snow falling, families exchanging gifts and pretending everything is fine. Now imagine a father who hasn't truly shown up for his daughter, suddenly sending her a present out of nowhere. No conversation, no accountability, just a package. And then imagine that same package landing back on his own porch days later, still sealed, still untouched, returned without explanation. That moment reportedly sent panic through the Brown household, because this wasn't about a gift being rejected. This was about access being denied. Today, we're breaking down what fans are calling the Christmas refusal, the moment Truly Brown, who has quietly observed years of emotional damage, finally took control of the narrative. Did Truly actually send Kody Brown's Christmas gift back to Flagstaff? Was there an alleged note that shattered Robin's holiday illusion? And why is one peaceful image from Salt Lake City reportedly causing chaos inside the Flagstaff mansion? Here's what matters most. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't teenage attitude. This was a boundary being drawn. Because this story didn't start with a package. It started years ago with neglect, favoritism, and control disguised as parenting. But before we rewind the clock, I need you to pause for 1 second. If you believe kids have the right to protect their peace, even when it's uncomfortable for adults, hit that like button right now. It tells the algorithm exactly where you stand. And if you don't want to miss what happens next, especially if Flagstaff responds, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, because once this line was crossed, there was no walking it back. To understand why this return hits so hard, we have to revisit the moment everything changed. The year love was replaced with rules, the holiday where control became more important than connection. To understand why that returned package shook everything, we need to rewind, not weeks, not months, but years, because this wasn't a random act. It was the result of a long, quiet buildup that started when control replaced care. We have to talk about the dark era, the year fear walked into the Brown family and never fully left.
The COVID period didn't just isolate the Browns from the world, it exposed the hierarchy inside their own home. Lists appeared, rules were typed, printed, and enforced like law. What was sold as protection felt more like punishment, and for the kids watching from the sidelines, one message became painfully clear: love now came with conditions. Kody Brown has always operated on one principle: loyalty first, affection second. In his world, attention is earned, not freely given. Question him and the door closes. Disagree and access disappears. Truly was young men, but she wasn't oblivious. She noticed patterns. She noticed where her father slept most nights. She noticed how quickly rules bent for Robin's children while remaining rigid for everyone else. She noticed who got comfort and who got silence. There is a special kind of hurt that comes from being physically present but emotionally dismissed, truly lived in that space, not abandoned, just overlooked. And over time, that absence leaves a mark deeper than yelling ever could. We saw flashes of it on camera, moments that felt uncomfortable to watch. The bike lesson that wasn't about learning, it was about control. The tension, the frustration, a milestone turned into a performance, and when it didn't go his way, the moment became about him, not her. That was the pattern. Always. So when we jump to the present day, nothing about this should surprise us. Kody Brown now sits in his Flagstaff mansion, surrounded by expensive possessions and reinforced narratives, slowly realizing something terrifying. His influence is fading. The texts don't work. The guilt trips fall flat. The demands for loyalty no longer land. When control starts slipping, he doesn't reflect. He reaches for his wallet. This brings us back to the package. According to insider chatter, the Christmas gift wasn't sent with understanding, it was sent with expectation. A peace offering, yes, but only on his terms. Not a conversation, not accountability, just an object meant to reopen a door that had been quietly closing for years. But what Kody failed to understand is this: Truly no longer lives inside that system. She's been exposed to something dangerous to his authority: stability. In Salt Lake City, life looks different. The air is lighter. The tension is gone. She's watching a relationship built on consistency instead of conditions. She's seeing what it looks like when a man shows up without demanding applause. And once you experience that, the old dynamic stops making sense. So when the package arrived, it didn't spark excitement, it sparked awareness. It wasn't seen as love, it was seen as leverage, a reminder of everything that once came with strings attached. And that realization set the stage for what happened next, because this wasn't about rejecting a gift, it was about rejecting a system. This is the moment where everything changes. Up until now, silence in the Brown family has always meant compliance. It meant swallowing hurt to keep the peace. It meant accepting crumbs so the storm wouldn't come. But this time, silence meant something else entirely. It meant decision. The package didn't get ripped open. It didn't get shoved into a closet. It sat there, untouched, forcing a question that had never been asked so clearly before. Do I even want this in my life? And that's where power quietly shifted. Returning a package isn't passive. It takes intention. You have to seal it back up. You have to carry it out of the house. You have to stand in line and hand it back to the system that delivered it. Every step says the same thing: I'm done participating. For the first time, Truly Brown didn't absorb the discomfort to protect someone else's feelings. She chose herself. Meanwhile, in Flagstaff, the waiting began. Kody Brown is not a man who handles being ignored well. He thrives on reaction: gratitude, anger, fear, even tears. Silence starves him, and as days passed with no thank you text, no call, no acknowledgement, that silence reportedly became unbearable. He likely checked tracking updates, waited for confirmation, expected validation in return for effort, because in his mind, love is still transactional. But the message never came. That's when the box started its journey back. And this is where the story stops being quiet. Throwing a gift away would have been easy, private, forgettable. But sending it back? That's a statement. It says, "This doesn't belong here. Not anymore." Insiders claim the package arrived back in Flagstaff still sealed. No curiosity, no hesitation, just refusal. And that refusal carried more weight than any argument ever could, because it wasn't emotional, it wasn't dramatic, it was calm. And calm is terrifying to someone who relies on chaos to stay in control. In that moment, Truly wasn't acting as a child. She was acting as someone who had finally recognized the pattern, the guilt, the grand gestures, the emotional debt that always followed. By sending that box back, she rejected the premise entirely, the idea that access to her could be bought, that time could be replaced with things, that absence could be erased with money. And the most devastating part? The box was allegedly never opened, which means it didn't matter what was inside. It could have been expensive, it could have been symbolic, it could have been anything. The answer was already no. As that package moved closer to Flagstaff, the silence turned loud, because this time the rejection was physical, trackable, undeniable. And back in Utah, something remarkable happened. The weight lifted. The reminder of the past was gone, the manipulation removed from the doorstep, peace restored, not through confrontation, but through boundaries. This wasn't rebellion, this was clarity, and that clarity set off a chain reaction that no one in Flagstaff was prepared for, because once the box landed back where it came from, it didn't arrive alone. The box didn't just come back, it came back with a message. When that package finally landed in Flagstaff, it wasn't a quiet moment, it was a reckoning, the kind that doesn't need shouting, because the meaning is already loud enough. Sources claim the box was still sealed, no tape ripped, no corners bent, untouched, and attached to it was a short handwritten note, just 4 words: "Love can't be bought." That sentence reportedly hit like a grenade because it didn't insult, it didn't accuse, it didn't explain, it simply exposed everything. Kody Brown has spent his entire adult life believing that money equals authority, that gifts equal access, that providing things entitles him to loyalty. Those 4 words didn't argue with him, they dismantled his entire belief system. There was nothing to twist, nothing to debate, nothing to gaslight. Either love can be bought or it can't. And in that moment, the answer was delivered in cardboard and tape. Insiders say the reaction inside the Flagstaff house was immediate and volatile. This wasn't sadness, this wasn't reflection, this was ego injury, the kind that turns into rage. Because for someone like Kody, rejection isn't painful, it's humiliating. Robin, according to sources, didn't see this as a boundary being set. She allegedly saw it as an attack, a public disrespect, a rejection not just of a gift, but of her. And that's when the familiar narrative kicked in. Christine poisoned her. David influenced her. They turned her against us. Anything except the truth. Because the truth is the most dangerous option of all, that Truly saw clearly and chose differently. The unopened box made it worse. If she had opened it, Kody could have told himself a story. She didn't like it. She already has one. She misunderstood. But an unopened package says something far more devastating. It doesn't matter what you sent. It was never about the item. It made his effort meaningless. And to a narcissist, irrelevance is worse than hatred. While that box sat in Flagstaff like a physical rejection, something else happened that reportedly sent the house into a full spiral. A photo appeared online. Truly, Christine, David. Not posed, not forced, not performing, just calm, comfortable, safe. The contrast was brutal. No chaos, no tension, no obligation smiles. Just a teenager living her life without fear of emotional consequences. That image alone said everything the note already had. Inside the Flagstaff house, sources describe a familiar cycle. Robin in tears, Kody pacing, words like betrayal and disrespect thrown around freely, but accountability nowhere to be found. And here's the irony that no one there seems willing to face.
The note was proven right in real time. Instead of missing his daughter, he focused on the cost, the shipping, the wasted money. Not the years lost, not the conversations never had, not the apologies never given, just the transaction that failed. Meanwhile, in Salt Lake City, the air was different. The box was gone, the tension was gone, and the reminder of conditional love was finally out of the house. Truly didn't scream, she didn't confront, she didn't beg. She set a boundary and walked away. That moment wasn't about Christmas, it wasn't about gifts, it wasn't even about Kody. It was about a girl who realized she no longer had to carry someone else's dysfunction just because they share DNA. The tender-aged child label no longer applies. She saw the pattern, she understood the manipulation, and she declined to participate. And that's why this moment matters. Because this wasn't the end of a storyline, it was the closing of a door.